welcome to Well Behaved, where we unpack sobriety, womanhood, current events, pop culture, and the messiness of life. I'm Bree.
And I'm Carter.
Welcome to the pod.
Welcome to the pod.
It's going to be a good week. Carter, do you want to give any life updates?
Any life updates? I was in Chicago for a wedding this weekend. I feel like people rave about Chicago. It was very cool, but I definitely was not walking around like, wow, I wish I lived here.
Okay, I love that take. My husband loved Chicago. He had his bachelor party there. I've never been there.
Really? Okay, yeah. I feel like it maybe kind of felt like Atlanta to me, where it's like, okay, there's like a downtown and then it's got some like cool neighborhoods. But again, I'm not walking around like, oh my God, I could move here tomorrow.
Okay.
But definitely clean, fun. Wedding was super over the top, amazing, literally no notes. And yeah, I am going to Hawaii in a couple weeks, and then I'm like done with trips for a while. So I'm excited about that.
Nice. Hawaii is going to be amazing. I'm super jealous. I've never been there.
I've never been either, and it's another place that people rave about. So I'm like, okay, what's the tea on Hawaii?
Yeah,
I feel like
you're
people say
definitely-
it's amazing.
You're going to have a good takeaway from there. I think in comparison to Chicago, I think Hawaii might blow it out of the water.
Yeah, I do. I am feeling like Hawaii is going to live up to the hype. Not sure that Chicago did, but what about you?
What about me? This past weekend, I was a busy bee. And then I started my new job this week. So day 2 of my new job.
Yay.
Working in outpatient mental health counseling. I did get let go
Love.
from my last job. I think I'm ready to say I got let go from my last job. And when I tell you guys the reason why, we'll all be better for it. I tried to prank people at my last job and I got let go.
The fact that it was a fucking prank is just the most.
Yeah.
It's like almost unbelievable.
It's almost unbelievable, like many things in my life. And yet, a harmless prank got blown out of proportion. And I got laid off.
So
Totally,
wrong.
though, I have to say something. And I don't mean to sound a little too woo-woo, okay? I have been doing The Artist's Way, okay? It is this book. Everyone raves about The Artist's Way. It's like this thing that everyone does.
Yeah,
Basically
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's basically like 12 weeks, and you work on it every single day, and apparently your whole life's supposed to change. Well. I started The Artist's Way 5 weeks ago. The first week of The Artist's Way, I'm journaling and I'm like, not totally obsessed with my job, liked my coworkers, but wasn't obsessed with my job. I was like, I feel like I want to work in a nonprofit. I feel like I want to focus on mental health counseling. Well, lo and behold, 5 days later, this little prankster gets laid off.
That is crazy.
Yes. And now I'm doing mental health counseling at a nonprofit. So there's a lot of synchronicities. Then last night, I was having a hard time. First day of work, didn't know anyone at my new job. And I was kind of like, man, like, I knew everyone at my last job. This is a bummer. Like, and I was crying to my husband about a few things. Like, why hasn't this person reached out? Why hasn't this person reached out for my old job? Today, they both reached out. And I was like, I think the universe is just telling me this was the right move. So anyway, that's what I did this week. I started my new job. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I feel like I love a change. I love a move. So I do always feel like getting let go is redirection.
Absolutely. And as we
100%.
know, Carter, they were not so nice to me last year.
No, they were not. As your retained counsel.
What Carter means by this is last year at my old job, I actually can talk about this now because whatever, I didn't sign an NDA. My job last year tried to tell me that they were going to get rid of me because of my sobriety TikTok, because they said that people would think I was a drunk and that I was drunk. And
the reasoning was the craziest thing to me.
It was because I don't drink. That's the whole point. So this doesn't make any sense. Right. But I had known Carter for all of about 7 days, and I sat in that meeting with my boss, and I said, I got a lawyer. And who was my lawyer, might you ask, was Carter Martin. Carter, what do you do for law?
Oh my God, I am a real estate attorney. So
perfect.
I was perfectly poised to help you out with your employment crisis.
Perfect. She was the perfect candidate. So anyway, that's where we're at. The lore goes deep and it's all good. I'm laughing about it now. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm happy. It's all good. Now that my rant's over, we do have some good pop culture stuff to get into. Now, because we are sane-minded individuals, we are obviously talking about the Summer House reunion first and foremost.
Yep. We'll get the Summer House stuff out of the way. I know some people don't watch it. I don't know how you could not be watching it at this point, but we can't not talk about it. We had our in-person watch party on Tuesday, and I have obviously been looking forward to this for a while, but the way that it fucking delivered is just, I can't even, like, it was so good for so many different reasons.
It was really good. And we do have to rescind our previous statements because when the reunion leaks came out, we had said, like, Sierra's comebacks aren't that good. Sierra's like being a little too nice. We were wrong. She ate down. She couldn't have done a better job, in my personal opinion.
Yes, and I saw a comment, like, that read at the end, both Lindsay's read of West and Sierra's read of Amanda at the end, what I liked about them is they were so smart and true. You know, what was so, excuse me, powerful about these reads was that they were fucking true.
They
And
were all true.
they hit the nail on the fucking head for both of them, saying that West is nothing but a social climbing opportunist and that Amanda is actually the perfect person to be with a person like that. It was cinema. It was
It was
fucking cinema.
it was cinema, and our jaws were on the floor. The best part about this was we had the viewing party at the Maze, okay? It was
Yep.
about 8 women and my husband. That's not the best part. That's not the best part. We knew he was coming because he loves Summer House Down. The best part was that there was a group of about 4 guys playing pool at the pool table right to our right, a few waiters and the manager. By the middle, not even the end of this, by the middle of the reunion, every man was standing around the couch locked into the reunion. They couldn't peel their eyes away from the screen.
No, they were so into it. They were like, what's this show? What's the story? I'm like, pull up a seat, please. There's 2 more parts. Don't you boys worry.
At the end, they were like, wait, that was a really, really good show. And we were like, yeah, we know.
Another read, we have to discuss Bailey's read of Ben. So unexpected and also very correct.
And I love that she said to him, you love to reprimand women, because it didn't leave any room for him to then reprimand her.
Oh my God, that's so true. I didn't even think about that. And she was so fucking quick with it because he tried to do a gotcha and say, well, how come it was hot when Carl did it? And she said, absolutely.
Wow.
Like, just how fucking quick she was with that. I was like, there's no survivors.
No survivors, and no shocker here that Sabrina Bell was going to come defend him.
Fucking Sabrina Bell. I can't.
I think one of my favorite reads of the whole reunion was from none other than my favorite Carl. When he said that Amanda and Wes's statement was like singing happy birthday, but not saying anyone's name in the song.
No,
I
that
thought
was
that
amazing.
was a genius analogy.
Carl, sweet baby Carl. I have such a soft spot for him now. Speaking of him also though, did we talk about this? He likes Bailey as a friend and nothing more. And that feels very obvious to me.
Correct. And I think when he was explaining that, I think it hurt her a little bit. I think I saw a little hurt in her eyes, but that's just
Yeah,
my
I mean,
hypothesis.
I hate when people on shows do this where they kind of are like, do you like her? Do you like her? Do you like her? It's like, if he liked her, he would have gone for it. I don't know why we're still asking them both this question in front of everyone and making him say that he doesn't really like her. I hate that. Drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
I know, it's awkward for everyone involved.
Who
It's
did they
awkward
do
for
that
everyone.
with on Southern Charm? Allie and Austin, and also Molly and Shep. They're like, Shep, do you like Molly? Do you like Molly? Why don't you take Molly out? What about Molly? Same thing. Austin, how about Sally? How about Sally? Why don't you want? It's like they're not taking them out because they don't want to.
They
Like,
don't like him.
and same
They
thing
don't
with
like
this.
him.
It's like, Carl, are you interested in Bailey? What about Bailey? It's like, dude, he's obviously not interested. Why does he need to say it out loud in 6 different ways?
I know, it's just awkward for everyone involved.
Like, if I was Molly or Sally or, I mean, and Bailey, and they all honestly are like great sports about it, like, but I would be annoyed.
Totally. I don't need someone to reiterate to the world that they're not into me.
No, exactly. Like, I don't need to hear him say, I love her as a friend. I don't need that.
No, no one needs that. Additionally, KJ shared the sweetest response about his mental health, which was so important for him to share. And
Yeah.
right now, it looks like maybe him and Dara have broken up because they were together last night and then he deleted all of his stuff of her and she unfollowed him or he unfollowed her. Like something weird is going on and I need to know what happened.
Yeah, I'm very surprised because, like you just said, they were together at Sierra's event last night.
Correct. And from a mental health perspective, KJ did share he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. He said BPD, which could be bipolar disorder, but it's borderline. He's diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Right, I
And
didn't think about that.
there isn't really a medication a proper medication that can fix that. You kind of live with borderline for your whole life and you just learn
Mm.
how to live around it. But it does involve a lot of highs and lows and it does involve a lot of like relational turmoil. That's why when
Mhm.
people were saying that Dara was with him to social climb, I was like, I just don't think that's true because if you have borderline, that's like a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't think she would be dating someone if she wasn't all in who has that. You like really have to care for someone and be empathetic. So I'm wondering if there was like a high and low situation going on and he just hit a low or I don't know.
That's actually something that I really hope they get into in part 2 or part 3 of the reunion, is asking why Bailey, Lindsay, and Levi all said that they felt like Dara was in it for fame, air quotes, like KJ's so famous.
She must have said something to someone.
Yeah, I mean, obviously too, like they're the ones that are there, and for 3 of them to be saying that, they're picking up on something that we're not picking up on.
Correct, correct. And they're not
So
3 people well, at least I don't think Levi and Bailey are 2 people that are just gonna say something for no reason. Like, they
you're
just
like,
joined
"Okay,
the
well,
house.
I'm not gonna say that all of them aren't."
Lindsay can be a little bit of a spitfire. We need to get into the Amanda and Wes of it all.
Okay, we do. I don't know why it literally is making my skin crawl, the comment that Amanda made about Wes nudes, about how come you never sent those to me, or like I never got any of those, or something. Like everything that she does at the reunion, she is so happy to have been the chosen one.
Yeah. It's first of all, she never should have been comfortable enough in the first 5 minutes of the reunion making a joke about Wes nudes and how he doesn't send her any. Like,
That was so fucking disgusting and insensitive, and just again, she's thrilled. Like the attitude that we're seeing from her, it's because she's fucking thrilled. She's so happy to have been picked, and she doesn't give a fuck about Sierra or anyone else.
I almost like she's kinda giving, like, sociopathic vibes a little bit. Like, no empathy. No, nothing.
None.
She's in the she told Sierra to fuck off. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I have a theory on that. I think both of their attitudes are very reflective of the fact that deep down they really feel resentful of Sierra for I think that and I don't know if this is true, but I think maybe as they got more and more into their relationship, they obviously resent Sierra for being a barrier to that. And they get more and more resentful of being like, it wasn't that much time. They didn't even really date. Like, why is Sierra still bringing it up? And so I think they're like, they don't feel bad. What they really feel deep down that they're not going to say out loud is that they're annoyed that this is a whole big thing because of her. Like it was going to be a big deal. And the betrayal isn't even about West and Sierra and how long they dated or whatever. Like the main betrayal that makes this such a big deal is the Sierra Amanda connection. So that
Right.
connection doesn't even have anything to do with how long they did or didn't date.
Right. Exactly, exactly. Their whole demeanor during the reunion was just incredibly disrespectful to everyone involved,
Yeah.
honestly. It was almost like they were rage baiting everyone by purposely acting like they didn't give a shit.
Yeah, they're totally like they don't give a shit. They really again, there's something simmering down below the surface that they're pissed about. I'm excited for the next 2 parts, but
Yeah. I
oh, and they're obviously medicated, right?
I mean, they have to be. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around them. I think they're freaks. Like, I I don't know. Like, I don't understand the lack of empathy, the lack of like preparing their storylines. We all know you had sex before you posted the statement. Like, come
Just
on.
gun to my head, I don't and the way that they were their rehearsed lines were, like, kind of were adding up perfectly, but then I was like, "Oh my god, this is actually this display of a rehearsal is pathetic."
Yeah. Really
It's
pathetic. And
so
like
bad.
they just were lying a lot. It was really
You can tell when they're
awkward.
lying. Neither one of them are very like, about
No.
the timeline with the sex, and again, I guess they're just kind of clinging on to things that they can. So it's like they're clinging on to the timeline. They're clinging on to it was PG at first. It doesn't fucking matter. What does that matter to anything?
Lindsay hit Wes with the what's more important, an emotional connection or sex? And he goes, emotional. First of all, Wes, what a stupid answer. He just incriminates himself. Like their answers were just bad. Like they weren't even trying to like save themselves.
Yeah. And I did like that Andy pushed him a little bit. They all pushed him a little bit on okay, why were you giving her mixed signals? Why were you having 2 sleepovers with her in the fall? What I will say on the flip side of that is this is why you do not accept the bare ass minimum from a guy, because
Right.
that is reflective of the fact that he does not give a fuck about you.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
that Sierra was accepting that stuff. But again, Wes was also the one being super unclear and having sleepovers with her and doing whatever when he knew that he was not interested in anything beyond friends. Ugh.
I don't know. Part 2 and 3 are gonna be wild. You guys are watching at the maze. I won't be there next week, but you guys are having another maze watch party on Tuesday. So,
Yes,
it was a lot of
another
fun.
Maze watch party. It was so much fun watching it with people, I have to say. Watching it together is elite.
It is. And it was a super comfy, like, seating and viewing
Yes,
situation.
it was very, like, comfy, cozy vibes. We can just order non-alc bevs, food. It's free. You don't have to be a member at the Maze, so look out for that link.
All right, guys. Now we need to get into something that I really, really want to talk about tonight. So, you probably haven't heard this name in a while. If we all don't remember Rachel Dolezal, who was the woman who pretended she was black for her whole life and was it the president of the NAACP in Washington state for a long time before it came out that she, in fact, is not black. She is German, Czech, and Swedish. So,
Oh my gosh, I'm looking her up right now. This really takes me back. And the fact that she's
this was a while ago. This was like 2016, 2017.
and the fact that people like this, like, find themselves back in the spotlight is not a coincidence. But
Let's sit
what's
tight.
the latest? What's the latest?
Just sit tight. So, not only was she the president of the NAACP chapter of Spokane, Washington, when she's not black, guys. Never been nothing. Okay?
I'm on her Wikipedia right now, and it says, eventually, Dolezal acknowledged that she had been born white to white parents, but maintained that she self-identified as black.
She self-identified, and that was the whole thing. That was like and her parents are the ones who outed her. They're like, "Our daughter is not black." He also was a professor at Eastern Washington University in the Africana education program. So she's doubling, tripling down on this, okay? It comes out that she, isn't black in about 2015, 2016. She gets fired from her job, naturally. She also gets
Uh-huh.
booted from the NAACP. So then she gets
That'll
a
happen.
job and she gets a job in Arizona teaching. Okay. So she's like starting at whatever. She could have flown under the radar, but she continues to identify as black. Then she makes an OnlyFans. Okay. She gets fired from the job in Arizona due to her OnlyFans. And now she is pursuing a certification as a sex coach.
My gosh.
And that's why
I
she's in
mean,
recent headlines because of her OnlyFans.
this is like even asking the question, like, how do these people who, find themselves in these crazy situations, like, pop back up into the spotlight over and over? Like, it's because they're this type of.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. This is full blown narcissism.
Wait, okay, this reminds me exactly. Speaking of like this type of personality type, is this reminds me of Hilaria Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's wife,
Get
who
out of here.
pretended to be Spanish. This is
Yes.
like, she's like one of my favorites because she really, I mean, she doubled down. And I'm pretty sure she's from Connecticut or Connecticut adjacent.
Yes. Yes.
And
She's not Spanish.
she's definitely not, you know what it was? She grew up vacationing in Spain, which that's great. That's great. And okay, the names of their kids always like crack me the fuck up.
I think sometimes people, when a lie becomes that big, they start to believe it themselves. And I think that's what's going on with Rachel Dolezal. And I think that's what's going on with Hilaria Baldwin. Because Rachel Dolezal also still to this day says that she is black. She identifies as African American.
I mean, is it like histrionic personality disorder? Is that like one of the type things that mixed with narcissist? Like, there's something obviously like kind of what we're saying about her going through this whole big scandal and then like not really being able to stay out of the spotlight, even though you've already had. Like, I always wonder about these people. Why wouldn't you kind of just fade into the background? But it's because they can't. Listen to some of these names of Ilaria and Alec:
Right.
Carmen, Raphael, Leonardo, Romeo, Eduardo, Maria, and Hilaria. Like, please be so serious. You know, people were asking her pointed questions about the timeline of when she grew up in Spain. And she had to say, like, she was there for summers. Like, she did not live there. She did not grow up there. And like, and I'm like, God, that had to just be extremely exhausting and draining to be fielding questions. I mean, so that's when it kind of fell apart because I know Alec Baldwin's daughter, Ireland, originally like came out in full support of her. And then, like, as more details came out, she backed off a little bit and was like, you know what? Like, I love her. I love my family. I'm not going to be commenting on it further. I'm like, yeah, because there's not anything good to say.
Like, this is what I think about though. Living a lie like that, the only thing I can compare it to is like that would be like if I got blackout drunk still every single weekend and was posting about sobriety all the time. Yeah, it's not great. So if anyone was wondering where Rachel Dolezal is at, that's where she's at. And she will always remain a medical mystery to me for the rest of my life. And I will be keeping tabs on her. Her and Octomom take up like a lot of space in my brain. I don't know if you remember the Octomom.
I do remember. I do remember the Octomom.
And we can just leave it right there. We don't need to get into it. All right. Next up, we wanted to talk about the New Yorker article on the book Strangers that we both read.
Yeah, okay, so I saw this. Okay, you loved Strangers, right?
Loved, was infuriated by it, but loved.
Yes, okay, so I loved it too. I was obsessed with it. I was just super drawn into it. And I also think that the topic of financial independence in a marriage and as a woman, especially if you want to stay home, like this is just such. I think this is the piece of the puzzle that gets missed a lot with the trad wife conversation. You know, oh, you want to stay home and do whatever, like you can do whatever you want. But the piece that people are not talking about is how it is not safe for women to not have any idea what's going on with finances and have no way to leave their marriage financially. And that's not really the situation here, but I think that this is the conversation that I loved that this book brought up is the conversation about not releasing full autonomy of your finances to another person.
Right.
And the whole thing was that she was generationally wealthy. So she came into the marriage with a bunch of trust. He was a lawyer. She stayed home and did not work while he went out for 20 years and was a lawyer at first. And then I think worked at a hedge fund or something. And he ended up, making millions and millions of dollars during that 20 years. And she dried up several trusts to buy them a bunch of properties, basically. Martha's Vineyard, somewhere in Tribeca, blah, 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 blah. And the New Yorker posted an article kind of trying to poke holes in the story. And so I spent the $5, downloaded the New Yorker, and I was like, okay, I have to see what this is about because I loved the book. And, obviously I want the story to be true and correct and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it was a big fat nothing burger to me. The biggest thing from the article is they were basically saying, the New Yorker uncovered that Belle had access to other trusts. And I'm like, okay, in reading the book, though, there was no point where I was like, she's going to be on the streets. This generationally wealthy woman in her Tribeca loft that she might lose to the divorce, she's not going to be on the streets. I never at any point thought she didn't have access to any money. Because, like, one of the things is there's apparently some kind of $60 million trust that is left to her stepmom. I don't know. It's kind of hard to follow, but left to someone else, but she doesn't get access to it until that person dies. So obviously, she's like oil money, generationally wealthy. It's like back hundreds, like it's very wealthy. It's not just like, oh, they'll have $20 million somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of money. And so obviously that is not going to be just one trust or two trusts and then she's going to be destitute.
Something just tells me that the person who wrote this article missed the whole point of the book, if I'm being completely honest.
No, exactly. And
The whole point of the book
also
was not the financial ruin. The whole point of the book was that she gave herself to this man and trusted him wholeheartedly and like married him with the intentions of what you say in your vows and
yes. And
considered him and then he turned around and it's like about how you really never know somebody and you have to kind of like watch your back.
And I think another big part of the book is about the value, that there is monetary value for your time and effort as a homemaker and child rearer. She spent 20 years not being a lawyer and allowing him to go make tens of millions of dollars while she took care of the other half of what made their family life possible. Someone has to make money. Someone has to take care of the house and the children. She was doing one of those jobs. And then he got to the end of that 20 years and said, the value that I see, on that time and energy and years that you gave up is $0. I don't think that you deserve any of this money. Like, I think that was a big piece of it too. So, I loved another big reveal was that his income in 1999, which is like around the time they got married, was 200K. And that was supposed to be some nugget of her lying about him making millions of dollars. I'm like, the whole book was about how he was making normal money when they met. And then he spent the next 20 years making tons of money and making tens of millions of dollars. So it actually makes perfect sense to me that he would be making 200 grand in 1999.
Yeah, I feel like she didn't read the book.
Yeah, I think it's just like if you read that book and thought that she was going to be penniless on the streets, then that's on you.
I gotta look up who
So
wrote it.
I thought it was a big fat nothing burger, definitely trying to like poke holes in the story and make her look bad. But I did not think that it took away from the whole point message of the book. And if you still haven't read it, read it. I feel like, again, it's a really good. I read it, or actually I listened to it. It was such a good listen too, because it was so easy. But anyway, a very good, interesting topic and
Yeah.
just a super interesting story.
I think it's recommended reading for anyone who plans to get married or share a life with
Yes.
someone.
Yeah.
You bet your ass I was reading that book and I was like screaming at my husband to give me the passwords for our joint bank account.
No,
And
I seriously, like, it actually, like, rewired something in me. I'm like, you really do, like, need to be aware of where money is, what money you're gonna be, because her whole thing was like, "Oh, I'm sure that if anything was to ever happen, that we'd split it up fairly."
right, because that's what a level-headed human being would think. This man does not function as a level-headed human being. And like, we don't want to spoil it for anyone. You need to read it. It's
You need to
so
read it.
good. And it's
It's
not
really good,
long.
and
It's
it's
an easy read.
no, it's not long at all, and it's super interesting.
Yep. So that's where we're at with that. Is there anything else?
I don't think there's anything else. Oh, I did wanna mention the Sweats in the City girl who is dating Kenny from In the City.
Go ahead. I don't like Kenny.
Okay, I don't like Kenny either, which is why I had been posting on my story about what a piece of shit he seemed like in episode 1 of In the City. And so a couple of people texted me and were like, "Oh, you know that he used to date that Elizabeth girl who was one half of Sweats in the City." And I'm like, that is actually the most like interesting thing that I've heard in a while, because she's been popping up a lot lately, just like with a lot of really in my opinion, obnoxious manifestation stuff. Somebody I saw a comment today that said she journaled her way out of Lyme disease. Like, she's just kind of like a maha, skinny confidential, like she's one of those. And so for her to post that she manifested her gorgeous rich husband and you can too, like, that just pissed me off. So she's always like, she got in trouble not too long ago for coming out and saying she was like the face of the influencers shouldn't be bullied into talking politics. Obviously, I don't like that either. So I don't know. She's just like not for me. And so to see that she actually dated Kenny, who I was dragging on In the City and who seems just like a terrible person, that crossover, it brought me a lot of joy, you know?
Definitely. And the jury is still out for me on In the City in general. I wanted it to be like Lindsay, Amanda Kyle, Carl. I don't know. Like, I don't need to see some of these people. I don't care. I kind of like the dermatologist lady. She can stay. But like
I'm
some of them, I'm
interested in
just like, I don't know what's going on.
I feel like, yeah, I think that Kenny and his girlfriend are going to be a flop, and I need him off my TV. I think they made a huge mistake not including Carl. Carl's like a fucking fan favorite, and he's got so much shit going on. And like, as if you could like get him dating on there, like people would eat that shit up. So I thought
Yeah.
that was a big mistake, and it really broke my heart to see him say that, like, yeah, they didn't ask me to be a part of it. And I was just like, what the fuck?
They're
I'm
gonna next
also
season, I bet.
I have to say, though, I'm a little bit interested in the girl who has been married to her husband for about 5 minutes and is feeling really in the dark about the fact that he said he wants to have kids and now he doesn't. And she's like, yes, we're very happy, but he keeps putting off the kids conversation, and they've been married for like 45 minutes. I'm like, that doesn't sound like a. And then he like went to California, she went to California and he didn't even notice. I don't know, like that whole hot mess. I am a little bit intrigued.
I'm always intrigued, and this is just because I'm a yapper. I'm intrigued by any couple who puts off conversations for more than a week.
No, okay.
My husband does not exist in a world where that occurs. If I want to talk about something, we're talking about it in 48 hours, in 5 business days maximum.
No, and also people who are like, oh, it's like, oh, we've never talked about that. I'm like, what do you two talk about?
I used to ask my friends that, like, when we were in college and, like, in our 20s, I'd be like, "Oh, what's, like, your boyfriend's political affiliation?" And they'd be like, "I don't know, we've never talked about it." And I'm like, "Wait, literally, what the fuck are you talking about? You've never talked
No,
about it?"
literally. I'm like, what have you 2 talked about?
So he's a
Because
Republican is what you're telling me.
yeah, no, and it seriously is, like, people get married and they've never had conversations like that.
Conversations in general, it's just like, I don't
Or
know.
I feel like I'll even hear girls say who are married that, like, I don't wanna ask him that. Not about politics, but just about, like, something random, and I'm like, "In what world are you married to someone that you don't feel like you can ask a question that you have to them?"
Yes, and correct, and to circle back to the book Strangers, I think this was one of the problems with her where I grew a
Yes.
bit frustrated. She was a bit complacent with him, and she was like, he never wanted to talk about his childhood and his upbringing and that his dad left when he was
Yes.
a kid, and, like, again, that's not a 5 business day thing. I get that that takes some time to get out. I'm empathetic to that. I work in mental health counseling. I get it. But at some point, I would sit down and be like, listen, we're getting married. I need to know this about you so that I can support you and be there for you and, like, so that you can let this wall down with someone.
And I
Like,
thought
I
that
don't.
was super interesting about even, that he never really had they never had a real conversation after he left about what happened.
She was far too nice to him. Far too
She
nice to him.
never had an in-depth, meaningful conversation about what happened. I'm like,
I
"You were
would have
married to
been
someone for
like,
20 years, and he hasn't been able to sit down and explain to you why, with his words, why he left you and your children." That is a level of disconnect that I'm not interested in.
a level of, like, I'm too outspoken for that. Like, I think I would
It
be like, "Sit the fuck down and explain to me what the hell is going on. You're not getting up until you tell me what's going on."
Yeah, I thought and I guess, like, I'm sure the dynamic is obviously different, like, once one person is left, but I think that that spoke to how far apart they were in general too. Because, like you're saying, there were
Right.
other instances where she was like, "He didn't talk about that. He didn't wanna talk he didn't wanna go," and I'm like, "That is not acceptable to me."
No. I was just gonna say, if someone I was gonna say if someone left me like he left her, I would literally be egging their house every day, but then I realized I have to stop pranking, so I'm not gonna do
Oh,
that.
yeah, you're done with pranks. You're done with
Just for now.
pranks.
Just for now. Alright, well, I think that's all we've got.
Yeah, I think that's it. A little Summer House heavy, as always. This is now just a Summer House podcast, but it is the gift that keeps on giving. So,
Yeah, if we would stop beating the dead horse if they would stop doing stuff to piss us off, so,
exactly. And they haven't yet, and they won't. So,
uh, alright, stay tuned because we have a great interview coming up.
yay, I can't wait. Okay, we are joined tonight by Riley. Many of you may know her as Ryway or the Highway on TikTok and Instagram. Riley lives in Charleston, but we are lucky ducks because she frequents New York. She shares her story on social media and now works for recovery.com. And we're excited to talk to her this week. Welcome to the pod, Riley.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm stoked to be here virtually.
I know. It's so fun, isn't it, to be together with the girls?
It is. I'm good. I'm all down with a virtual meeting. I do one every Tuesday night. I love getting to connect with women and some men across the United States virtually and talk about sobriety.
Yeah, that's your jam.
That is my jam.
Yeah, tell us your sobriety story. Kick us off. Tell us what we need to know about Riley.
Very cool. Okay, so my sobriety date is March 14th, 2023. So in March of this year, I hit 3 years. But that was not my first time getting sober. The first time I ever drank, I believe I was 13. And it's very common. Some people go back and forth. Some people, when I tell them that, they're like, whoa, that's really young. And some people are like, and what about it? So I think just based on like regionally, when I tell people that story, I get a different reaction every time. I think 13 is insanely young to be drinking alcohol. When I see 13-year-olds, I'm like, picturing myself drinking alcohol at that age blows my mind. But it's very normal where I'm from to start drinking really young. I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, and there's not much to do there. But we do have the Derby, which is like a huge drinking, huge gambling culture weekend of the year, and it's crazy. But other than that, nothing going on. Very young age drinking. And the first time I ever drank, there's like two instances that I think it could be because I know that like from the very beginning I blacked out. Like I just had no control over drinking, like, whatsoever. But there's, like, one time that sticks out to me, and what's funny is, like, I had 3 best friends, so there was 4 of us, and I was the last of the 4 to drink. Like, I was absolutely terrified to pick up a substance, and, like, my mom was always like, "If you ever drink, like, if I find out you're underage drinking, like, you'll be grounded for life, yada, yada," and I believed her. And then, I don't know, some of my friends started drinking, and, like, my mom could tell that, like, we were partying and, like, kinda just, doing what teenagers do, like, lying about where we were and, like, going out and hanging with boys, but I wouldn't be drinking and my friends would be, and my mom got upset with me, like, by association. So I was like, "Damn, if I'm gonna get in trouble for doing something I'm not doing, I might as well do it." And the first time I drank, we were either at a party on the Ohio River, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just, like, some party in a cornfield on the Ohio River. And I remember, like, blacked out, but then I, like, came to, and I was at my house, and I was so scared. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble." But my friends, like, we had all gone back to my house after the party, and I kind of just, like, acted normally, but, like, was not there mentally, right? And I, like, came to at my house, and I was, like, in the shower, and I was like, "Okay, like, I think it's okay." And I, like, went into my room, and I woke up the next day, and everything was fine. And I was like, "Wow, I got away with that." But I really didn't remember much of it. But there's also another time that sticks out to me, and we were going to meet up with some boys, and, like, I just blacked out, and then our friend's stepdad came and picked us up, and I was like, "I'm gonna throw up," and I had to throw up in the sleeve of my sweatshirt, and it was a whole thing. And those 2 instances, either of them I think are the first time I drank, but those were very early on in my drinking career. And from the very beginning, like, even though I had no control over it, I still wanted to do it all the time. I loved partying. I loved going out. I loved, like, having a new crush of the day, crush of the week, crush of the month. Like, that's just all I wanted to do. Seriously, like, I was all kinds of not crazy, but, like, I was boy crazy, I was party crazy, like, I would down for anything. And also I was, like, on hella Adderall. I forgot that part, but, like, I got prescribed Adderall at a young age, so I'm, like, twacked out on Adderall, okay? I weigh, like, 10 pounds soaking wet, and then I'm drinking at 13. It's like when you look back, like, on some of the things, like, that is a recipe for disaster, okay? And so I would always,
It's,
like,
like, so common now because so many kids are prescribed Adderall that I think that's, like, and when you say 13, I'm like, "Yeah, and?"
dude, I mean, like, and the thing is, that shit affected me in so many different ways, and I'm now 29 years old, and I'm, like, just starting to unpack it. I'm like, that drug made me comfortable with pharmaceuticals. It made me comfortable with putting substances, and it made me comfortable with taking something and having an effect, because it would be this thing where, and I could go on and on about this, but I will say this really quickly. It would be this thing where, like, I would tell my parents, like, something like, "This makes me feel weird, and I can't eat, and I can't sleep." And so they would move me down on my prescription, and then it wouldn't do anything, and I was like, "Well, this isn't working, like, I don't feel it." Like, it's a whole song and dance. But anyways, recipe for disaster, and I go to high school, and like I said, I was, like, comfortable with doing things. Like, at that point when I drank, like, the Pandora's box had been opened, I would do whatever. And I remember, like, we would always party and I would get in trouble. I was really, really bad at getting caught, like, because I just had no control over my drinking. So when I started, just something bad was going to happen every time, because, like, I would black out to the point where, like, my friends couldn't find me. Like, I would go out into the woods and, like, pass out in the woods, or I would lose my phone and my mom would be blowing me up like, "You're at the movies. How have you lost your phone?" Because I'm not at the movies. I'm out at fucking dirt road in a cornfield in Kentucky. And I was really bad. And, like, I kept getting in trouble and I kept getting consequences. And I would literally get grounded for drinking, get off grounding, and get grounded again that very same day. That has happened more than 3 times that I can remember, like, in high school. And just high school was a shit show. It was constantly me fighting with my mom, me fighting with my dad, da 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 da. And eventually, like, I start smoking weed and I'm, like, down to do whatever. So I'm smoking weed. And that was, like, my first thing that really, like, I just totally abused, because it was like, it made me come down from the effects of the Adderall. I could do it on the weekdays without feeling bad about it, because, like, it just never crossed my mind to drink during the day. It was really difficult for me to get in high school, and it just never crossed my mind. Like, I just would never, I didn't want to casually drink like that. But I did want to smoke weed all the time. And I got to the point where, like, I'm getting getting in trouble for that. I'm skipping school for that. I'm like barely graduating high school and like getting deferred from state school for college. And like, I think everything's fine. I'm like, you know what? I don't even think I want to go to college, but I'm going to do it because that's like what everybody does. And total pothead. It was crazy. It was nuts. I like would do anything for weed. I would be like, okay, I need X dollars to drive an hour away to meet the only plug that I know, and then I'm gonna need X dollars to buy it. I was just like, you know it, you know how it goes. And I
Yep.
get to college and it only gets worse. The partying only gets worse. My parents were like, you have one shot. Like if you don't make good grades, here's an expectation. If you don't meet it, we're not going to pay for you to go to school. And I lied for a little bit about doing well in school until that all came to light because I'm bad at getting caught just with any, like, it just, college was again a shit show all over again, just in a different font. And I had more freedom and I started getting arrested. And even that wasn't enough consequence. I would lose jobs and that wasn't enough consequence. I would get in fights with my friends and that wasn't enough. And I'll speed it up here, but it's just never been normal from the very beginning. It's never been normal. The writing was on the wall. And I eventually drop out of college. I move back home. I get a restaurant job. I've never worked in restaurants. I'm making more money than I ever have, and I'm getting to drink as much as I want. And everybody at the restaurant that I worked at, we'd leave work, go right next door to the dive bar, and just get blacked out. And that was the best thing ever to me. That made so much sense to me. And I was making the most money I'd ever made, and I was getting paid every week. And by the time Monday would come around, when we would get paid on Monday, I'd have no money because I would just drink it all away or use it all away, like via nose, if you know what I mean. And I was just doing whatever was put in front of me. I never wanted the party to end because if the party ended, like I had to like face reality, and that was like no good. So it was like a maintenance plan of like drinking at night, waking up, smoking weed to get through that, and then like pre-gaming work and then doing it all over again. And I lose that job after a year. They'd given me so many chances because I'd shown up drunk to work or I'd like brown out on the floor. I'd be like serving someone and like come to, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what did you guys order? And they're like, we just said that we just asked for a slice of lemon. You're not even our server type shit. Like I would come to on the floor like, hi. And there was one time my manager had sat, he brought me off the floor and he was like, I want to talk to you. And he was like, you're not acting yourself. And I'm like, what are you trying to say? And he was like, for starters, you talked to that table for 25 minutes. Were you aware that you were talking to them for 25 minutes? And like, that's a long time. And I was like, they just really liked me. And he was like, okay, well, he was like, if you act like this again tomorrow, like you're not going to have a job. So I lose that job. And I have this like manic thing. And I'm like, I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to do. My drinking had gotten so bad. It was cyclical at this point. I was drinking in the morning, drinking in the afternoon, not every day, but I was still doing it. And it would have been every day if I could have afforded that. But I was like doing all this crazy stuff. I was getting ready to get evicted from an apartment I never even paid rent on, with some girls that I met on Facebook Marketplace. God bless them. They're all doing fine now. Um, and I'm like, I'll just move cross country. I'm going to get my car. My car was a 1997. And I'm like, I'm going to get my car and move across the country. And I did that. And it was crazy. And I hate saying the word crazy and mental health in like the same sentence, but it was wild. And I literally drove across, I typed in Los Angeles, California, and it takes you along Route 66 from Kentucky to LA. Takes you all the way up through Chicago and Oklahoma and Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and then you get to LA. And I got out there and I had a bunch of people that I knew because I'm a talker and I am capable of having social relationships in some capacity. So I had a bunch of friends who lived out there and I made it work. I was like, can I stay with you? And, I was couch surfing, doing all this stuff, and just things get worse. I start really drinking, really using drugs, and COVID hits. I'm like, I'd been out there for like 8 months. I'm like a cockroach. Like no matter what I do, I just like, I can't stop. And I had gotten jobs out of there and I'd lost jobs because of drinking. My car ended up getting, it's a whole thing. I was fine, nobody got hurt, but like I crashed my car and it was just nuts. And I was staying with a family out there and, their uncle was with them and he was like going to travel back across Route 66. And he was like, I think you should come with me. So I did that. And I go back home after 8 months of not talking to my family, not talking to really anyone. And my parents, like, they were just in disbelief. Like, I looked totally different. Again, I was drinking around the clock, and you could tell. Like, it's just when you look at yourself in active alcoholism versus you in complete health, it was totally noticeable. And I think they didn't really know what to do. And eventually it got to a point where my dad was like, I think you need to go to rehab. And I was just willing to do whatever because my life was so bad and I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't even really know what rehab was. I didn't know what that looked like. I had no expectations. And I'm kind of thinking, I said I had no expectation, but I'm kind of thinking like, okay, maybe they'll show me how to drink normally, or maybe they'll like help me figure out what trauma I endured in my childhood. And that'll, bring me to the realization of why it is that I drink the way that I do. And once I learn why I drink the way that I do and why I do it the way that I do it, then I'll be able to drink like a normal person because I'll know not to do it that way. That's not what happened. They were like, it was kind of a white coat. So, like, we had medical and stuff, but it was also like a 12-step based program. And, they kind of were like, these are like our markers for alcoholism. And I was like, oh my God, I literally check every single one of them. And I was like, I think I'm an alcoholic. And it was dope. I was like, thank God. Cause I felt like I had an answer for a lot of the times. Like, I just always kind of wondered in the back of my head, like, what is wrong with me? Like, why do I treat people like this? Why do I act like this when, why do I have to drink all the time? Why do I have to use something to feel okay? But I felt okay admitting that I was an alcoholic because I felt like I had an answer for once in my life. And I got sober and I left treatment and I go to sober living here in Charleston. I moved from, straight pretty much from therapy to Charleston. And it was awesome. And I stayed sober for almost 2 years, had a stint, a little small relapse of 7 months, which was egregious. I learned all these things to help me stay sober. I got into a 12-step program. I started working the steps. I did not work all of them and then wondered like what went wrong. But also on top of that, I wasn't willing to change a lot of things about my life that I think sobriety requires. Whatever route someone takes for sobriety, I think no matter what, you have to change so many things about the life you were leading before. Like, I think even if you're in 12-step or not, like, you just have to change so many things that you were doing before, and I just wasn't doing that. And on top of that, I really wasn't changed as a person. I did no self-reflection. I wasn't helping any community around me, like being no service to other people. I was totally only trying to make sure like I was good at all times. And on top of it, I just like was so miserable and did nothing to change that. So I like moved just the same as I would have in active alcoholism. I just had no alcohol. And that's again another recipe for disaster. So it just all came to a head. I end up like having a weird relapse. I drank vanilla extract and I've shared that a million times. And I drank lemon balm tinctures that I found at Whole Foods. And I told myself like, that's not a relapse because there's lemon balm in it. It's crazy. But it's just like, that's alcoholism. Like I relapsed for 7 months, absolute hell. I end up back in treatment. 90-day 12-step program. Loved it down, worked the entire steps while I was there, was able to leave and sponsor other women and go to meetings and do all those things. Like I had a personality change. I feel like the moment when I really felt and knew that was I had someone who worked at the treatment center had known me throughout my entire previous sobriety. And she had kind of sat down with me and she was like, you have changed so many ways about yourself. Like you don't even see it. And I was just willing to do whatever. Like I just didn't care. I just didn't want to drink. And so I was like, whatever. Like I don't care. I don't care about my car. I don't care about where I live. Like I just don't want to drink. And that's kind of crazy. And I think something worth mentioning too is that even when I had been sober before, I wanted to be sober, but I also wanted to drink in a way. Like I was jealous when I would see people who could. And I just had not worked through any of that. And I still wish that I could be a normal person. And that's like a normal feeling. But to feel that way for 2 years straight, I think is like, we need to talk to somebody. And I wasn't doing that. So I was able to like work through that and like, honestly, I was just so tired. My relapse had really kicked my ass to the point where, like, when I came in, I was like, I hope I never have to go back there. And I really think about my relapse like on a daily basis because I make content now and I talk about it constantly because I just want people to be so cognizant of that stuff. Like the prelapse is real. There are just so many red flags that pop up that I was unaware of that now I'm just like, it's in the forefront. And it's like, these are the things that you need to be hyper aware of. They might not kill you today, but they could kill you tomorrow type shit. And I kind of live by that. And I try to do a lot of the things that I mentioned before, like helping other women, helping other people get and stay sober, being a part of a community, working on myself, doing self reflection constantly. I'm always questioning like my motives, who have I harmed today? Have I harmed anyone? Was I productive? Was I helpful to somebody? I inventory myself constantly and I just try to be a better person today. And I think I've been able to do that with what I do for work, with what I do with my content. And it's something I'm really proud of. And I'm so grateful to be sober. I truly do not envy people that can drink. I, applaud people who can drink normally. I have no clue what that looks like. I wouldn't know it if it were happening right in front of me, but I'm grateful to be talking to you guys. Thanks for letting me share. That was long. Oh my gosh.
No, but I think your story is like dense and there's a lot of different pieces to it. Um, there is. It's interesting. Like it's not just, I don't know. You have interesting pieces to it. I feel like the one thing I want to like touch on before we forget is like the beginning of your story talking about Adderall. And I always say this, I think Adderall is the most dangerous drug on the planet. Like
Completely agree.
I it was completely my gateway drug to everything else. And I have talked about this on podcasts before, but like I was legally prescribed Adderall by a doctor and thought I had ADHD and then just completely misused the Adderall. And it's totally what led to me using other substances and to blacking out all the time. Like there was a before and after Adderall, and my drinking changed drastically once I started using that.
I think about it a lot because listening to a ton of sobriety stories, there's a lot of times an Adderall piece to it. Like I'm
Yeah.
thinking about when I read the Situations memoir, and I don't know if anyone's read it, but it's actually really good. But his story has, I think, because like what you said about it's normalized because it's a prescription. It's from a doctor, but it is like every time I see on the bottle the methamphetamines, I'm just like reminded of like how crazy it is. And also what you guys were saying about taking it as kids, because I started taking it in college and in law school, like in my 20s. But I can't imagine. And so then in my 20s, like I knew what it was, I knew what I was feeling, but I can't imagine taking it as a kid and trying to conceptualize like wanting more. And you know what I mean? It's just kind of like such a weird thing to have kids be taking and feeling.
Yeah. And I feel like I can talk about this now because I don't work in schools anymore. But like, there are a lot of kids that have ADHD and who, yeah, they went on Adderall and it did help them. But every single time I would talk about it with the parents in the back of my mind, what I really wanted to say was like, take the electronics away from your kid and give them like low stimulation activities and they would have been
Mhm.
fine. But it's too little too late. And you've been doing that for like 5 years. Like, I think that's so much
Yeah.
of the problem that kids are too far gone. And then the only solution is to drug them up.
It's weird because I think my parents were just doing what they were told. Like I had gone for my story,
Totally.
like I had gone from one school to another at like third grade. And it happened on like the first day at this new school when I was in third grade. The teacher calls my parents. She's like, has your child not been tested for ADHD? Which I can imagine would like be an like a weird conversation, but I was definitely hyperactive. I did not care about school. I just wanted to play. I did not care. And it's funny because like Adderall is supposed to make you this like super, oh, like, I don't know. I always thought it was just supposed to make me obedient and like better at school. And it didn't really do either of those things for me. And
Wow.
so I just always had this weird like thing, like, what is this really doing for me? Because it makes me feel like a robot. And then like I remember in fifth grade, my fifth grade teacher had me sit down with my parents and they're like, okay, Riley, we're going to give you a little chart on your desk and we want you to mark down every time you control the impulse to blurt out an answer and raise your hand instead. And then we'll tally up all the times that you do that and you'll get a prize at the end of the week. And I'm like, okay. And, I would just like tally that shit up. Like, I want a prize. Like, I don't give a shit. But
You're
it's
just
like
lying.
right, and but I'm like, that's, like, supposed to help with impulse control, and it just wasn't, and not to mention, like, the bodily effects, like, I couldn't go to sleep ever, and they put me on I was on an extended release during the from the morning to the day, and then I'd get home and take an instant, like, it was intense. It is a serious drug, and I think we have more knowledge on it now, like, back in the than we did in, like, the 1800s when I was 8, but it's a wild drug, it's seriously crazy. It's a weird thing because, like, it's really affected, I think, my self-esteem growing up that I was never good at school, like, no matter what I
Yeah,
did, like, I
same.
just couldn't get it down, and it's kind of a weird social thing too, because it does, like, the way your academics are handled when you're especially in, like, middle and elementary school, bleed into your social life in a way that, like, affects your self-esteem. Like if you go to a school that has a 3-tier math class, 3 being the high math, middle math, and low math, and you're in low math and you know you're in low math, it's just something it was such like a social status thing when I was going to school.
Mhm.
So as someone constantly in low math, like I'm experiencing self-esteem issues and then I'm like, I hate this medication that I'm on and it's making me skinny and like I have no boobs. Like I did not even like, go through puberty until I was like in a freshman in high school. And so it's such like a layered thing, but Adderall being at the bottom of it is just like it's a crazy drug. It really is, and it's something I take very seriously when I'm talking to people. I'm like, "You have no idea the impact on early childhood development that this drug has had on your life." Like, I'll be talking to sponsees, and I'm like, "Did you take Adderall?" Like, I just wanna know.
You said about, like, having access like, not having as much access to alcohol in high school, and, like, I do feel like that curbed things a little bit because I remember when I turned 21 and you could go and get alcohol, like, at any restaurant, like, the access really kicked up a notch in college, and I feel like that definitely, like, played a role in things speeding up, and I also which I guess kind of is my next question. I kinda wanted to ask you, like, were you cognizant this whole time? Like, when did you have the first thought about alcohol, like, "This is not gonna work." Like, "This relationship, like, is not healthy." Like, was it pre-California? Was it in college?
In high school, I just thought, like, one day I would get it. Like, one day I'd figure it out. I truly
Yeah.
thought one day I'd figure out, "Oh, if I drink X." I considered high school to be like an experiment, and I would tell myself, like, everybody, blacks out, and
Yeah.
it's because the people I were drinking with, like, they would. We highly encouraged each other to black out, so it was a lot harder to see.
Yes.
But then I got suspended from school for drinking at a football game, and it kinda struck out to me. I was like, "Well, that's not happening to my other friends." And then it really affected I was in a long-term relationship, for the last 2 years of high school and first 2 years of college, and that relationship is, I think, when it really was made clear to me that alcohol affected my life in some way because it got to the point where, like, the person I was in a relationship with was like, "It's either we keep dating or you stop drinking." And I was like, "Okay, well, this is a problem because I don't want either of those things to happen." So I would say it was kind of probably where I was like, "Oh, well, this is an issue and as a
Yeah.
problem." Probably in the summer going into college, I was like, "I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this." So probably then.
I, like, relate to what you said about when I the first well, no, I got sober once, right? The second time I got sober, I woke up after a wedding, had blacked out. I was a blackout drinker, and I was looking up rehabs on my phone, and I was, like, thinking, "I just wanna go to rehab so that they can teach me how to do this properly." Like, I just need to know the right way to do this so that I can keep drinking. The goal was not to really recover, it was to just figure out how to do it the right way, and obviously, I realized fairly quickly that's, like, not what they do in rehab, um, so I didn't go. But I had the
But I
same
f
exact thought.
but I feel like that's kind of an important, like obviously, it's great if you can do it the first time, but I think a lot of people, even with taking breaks or even a relapse or whatever it is, like, for me, like, that was such a big mental piece of it for me was realizing that I couldn't do it normally, and I almost needed proof of that to really believe it and, like, live by it because I feel like when I would try to quit, it would just like, I needed it to be like, okay, because that last time, like, I have never looked back since because I proved to myself so many times that it wasn't gonna work, and it was never gonna work, and it was never gonna be different, and I almost needed that evidence to, like, feel so strong in it now and then live accordingly.
Yeah. But that's a game every alcoholic plays is like we tell ourselves like this time it'll be different. And I try to remember that on a day-to-day basis because I am fully capable of being that person. Again, like I am fully capable. If I'm not like sharp and hyper vigilant on doing the things to protect sobriety, like I've proven to myself that I can be that person who says, you know what, like maybe I can drink normally. And maybe I can handle this because I've done it before. And that's why, part of me, like, even though that relapse was like absolutely horrific, part of me is really grateful for it because it just made me sharper as a sober person. Not saying, Carter, that you need to go out there and relapse to like have that
No,
experience,
I
but
know, and I wanted to be careful not to say that either, but I do think, like, it does, like, having backtracked is kind of like all the backtracks that I did kind of
yeah,
made me be like, "Well, there it is. You tried it, and guess what? Didn't fucking work again. So,
yep.
let's stay the course."
And like even though I've said, everything, like I'm doing all the things like I said, I am fully capable of being that person again if I'm not careful and I'm not doing the right things. And not just trying to, as long as I'm not slipping back into like old behaviors that I was doing while I was drinking, I am pretty protected from falling back into that. But I just wanted to say that because, like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think every person who's tried to stop drinking has thought to themselves, "Oh, maybe I could try this again and be better at it." And they try it again. It's a complete and utter disaster. Like, that's part of the
100%.
Yeah,
process.
totally.
I appreciated also, I wanna state, we talked about this last week. I went to a bachelorette party in Miami 2 weeks ago, and I was so scared of myself. I was like, I'm fully having, like, the most alcoholic thoughts right now, like, thinking I can do this again, and, like, I just it creeps up on you when you least expect it, and I felt so good going into that weekend too, and then I had, like, the hardest time. So you do just have to be hyper vigilant, but I was putting myself in a situation that I knew I wasn't gonna thrive in, like, at a club. Like, I know I'm not gonna thrive in that situation. So I want to touch on the one thing you said, and that like I wanted to be the focal point of this episode is like you have to be okay with changing some things about your life when you get sober. And I think for me, I was so nervous about not having a social life and not being able to go to bars and not being able to party. And then what ended up happening was the longer I was sober, I had no desire to do those things anymore. So it
Yeah.
wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. But I think it's like a really important thing to talk about because people want their life to look exactly the same and it's just not going to, nor are you going to want it to.
Yeah.
It's also like from what I've noticed is it's like where are you at when you're getting sober, right? Because like a 19-year-old is going to have a totally different experience than a 26-year-old getting sober, even though we're all considered young people, young sober people. Totally, I almost like I've had sponsees who are in college, and it was really hard for me to relate because I did not get sober in college. However, I did get sober at 22, but at that point, like I just wasn't partying. I had no friend groups that wanted to go out with me. And so it's kind of like for me, I always like assess like what variables are going on in a person's life when they get sober. When I got sober at 26, like I think the reason things were able to fall into place is because I was willing to change things about my life and I already knew what time it was. Like I knew I was going to have to. But then also the other part was like, I knew some of the changes are only temporary. Like, I tell people in early recovery, like, I suggest to them, like, don't go to a bar when you're, 1 week sober. That's, like, probably not the best thing that you can do for yourself, but that's, like, not a forever thing. Like, you'll eventually be able to go out and do things and be a normal person-ish amongst other people. But I like that you mentioned, like, having a social life and stuff like that because it does come back, like, a lot of stuff does come back and you feel, like, the exact same in some ways, but different. I feel very lucky, like, my circle of social people just happens to be a lot of other sober people now.
Yeah. That's the way to do it, and that's why you need the sober friends because it does feel so isolating in the beginning. I feel the same way when girls come to the coffee and conversation or DM me and they're young and they're in college or their early 20s. I'm like, I straight up am like, kudos to you because I literally never could have done that. Like I can't even imagine a world where I could
Wow.
have pulled that off. So I'm kind of useless for information, but I will be their personal hype man.
It's like that's why I mean, I had been thinking about stopping drinking since I was 21, but really, like, I feel like the social thing was the thing that held me back for so long because I was so afraid of things changing. And I didn't want anything to change, even though things really needed to change. But I do think, like, I definitely don't want to discourage anyone from who's super young from trying to quit drinking if you're thinking about it. I do feel like exactly what you said, Riley, about part of it is just an adjustment period. Like, you have to be willing to basically surrender for however much time it takes you to create a new life and almost just like a confidence in your sobriety. And then once you have the confidence in your sobriety, then you can go out and you can build whatever social life feels good for you. And that may be going out just as much as you did before. That may be going out less. It may be with your old friends. The first focus is just to quit drinking. And then as you get more comfortable and more confident, I feel like you can kind of build up whatever social
Yeah,
life
I
feels
agree.
good to you.
I think I don't know when the turning point was for me, but there was a point where I was like not upset that I couldn't go out anymore like that. And I was like, wait, I don't want to do that. You become so content with yourself and being with yourself, and like you find new habits and hobbies, and you're like, I'd rather be doing those things that make me feel good than forcing myself to go to a bar
Yeah.
and being uncomfortable.
I'm just like so hardcore about early sobriety because I feel like you do need to change a lot of things. Like if you're serious about it and you want to set yourself up for success, I feel like those first few months, like it's really important that you're just focusing on getting better and like making sure you're in a place to where you can go out and do all of those things. Cause I think that's where people who maybe like are alcoholics and they try to get sober and they go wrong because they think, oh, it's been like 30 days. I can go do this and it'll be fine. And maybe it is fine the first time. But I think, you're playing with fire in that. And so whenever I, talk to other people about it, I just like hone in on like protecting yourself in early sobriety so that you can go out and live the rest of your life doing whatever it is that you want to do without feeling tempted to drink. Um, and sometimes that does mean sacrificing like not going out for 6 months, whatever that looks like. And there's no like set time frame. I love talking to people about early recovery because I just went so hard in the paint, and the people that, I look up to in sobriety and in recovery, they went hard in the paint in early sobriety. And that's why, they're able to live really full lives and like do all these things, go to bars, go to clubs, do whatever. And they don't have any sincere desire to drink, live by that,
Yeah.
which might be like way too like, if you do this, like you're going to drink and die. But like sometimes like it's that serious to me because I just like to drink is, you know, it's pretty bad news for me. So I do take it very seriously.
Yeah, because you have to.
I think I went a different direction with that.
No, but like you do, like you have to take it seriously. I think the second it becomes a little too casual and comfortable, I get a little nervous and I'm like, wait, I need to be taking this a little bit more serious. Like I'm forgetting how much of a fucking mess I was.
Well, yeah, because things get so good that you're like,
Yeah.
and
You're
like
like,
again, a
"Ah."
confidence comes to you, and you're like, oh, things are good, and the control, like you feel so in control of yourself and your life because you are.
Yeah, and it's like you can't. And even now still, like for me, I always talk about this, but like it's weddings. Like I go to so many fucking weddings.
You
Like
do
and
go
I
to a
love
lot of
and I love love and I love weddings now. I used to hate weddings because I always knew I would black out at them. But now I really like them. But I have to take really good care of myself if I'm on a bachelorette or a wedding. Like I have to take a lot of breaks
Yeah.
and go to the bathroom a lot and like not to go to the bathroom, but like to take a minute by myself. And like
Yeah.
sometimes I literally have to sit in the bathroom and scroll on my phone for 5 minutes and just be alone. Like I have to be really cognizant of what I'm doing. Like I'm always the first one to leave the after party at a wedding, always. And I am always alone leaving the after party. We went to a wedding recently. This was the most sober I've felt in literally my entire life. We went to a wedding in Florida and everyone was at the after party. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like I'm so tired. And there were trolleys, like old school wooden trolleys. And I walked outside and I was the only person on the trolley. It was me and the trolley driver. And we were driving on the
Who's
highway with the
driving this
windows
bus?
down. And I was like, I've never felt like such a fucking loser. Like, and this guy's like trying to make conversation with me. I'm like, there's a 20 rows on this trolley. I'm the only one on it. But like, I didn't drink. So, and I was
Right.
unhappy. I was like, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm going to leave. Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely have to, like, take care of yourself. I don't know, Riley, if you have any, like, tips or tricks that you do to, like
So, like, with work and stuff, I, like, realized I really sucked at, like, small talk. And I don't think I kinda got to this place of acceptance, though, where I was like, I don't know anyone that does like small talk. Some people are better at it than others, but I was like, I wanna be better at small talk, and I
Yeah.
worked on it, like, in, like, some freaky shit, like, on YouTube, like, how do I be better at small talk so that I can, like, not feel that is a practical tool, though, like, how can I be better? It's so painful.
I hate it. I'm
It's
always
That's
getting too deep.
hilarious.
it's so painful.
I make people uncomfortable because I'm like, how's your parents' divorce? And they're like, I told you that 4 years ago. Like, why do you remember that? And I'm like, I don't know.
But that's like I need so as like an addict and like who I am as a person, I need so much stimulation. That like if I'm not being stimulated by a conversation, I'm like checking out and I'm having a bad time. So like socially, what does that mean? I'm like, how can I make small talk engaging? And I like looked up like best ways questions asked with small talk and stuff like that. And it's helped me.
I'm like
And
obsessed with this.
I'm not saying it works every time, but small talk is an art. It's an art form and you
No, it
gotta
really is.
like it takes practice. Like and I talk to myself all the time. So I just do it like with a person there and it's like we're having a great time. But I as you guys probably can tell, I'm a talker. But socially also, kinda to what Bree said. Number 1, Bree, I remember when we first met when you came to Charleston and then you had your bachelorette, like, right after that, and I think it was also, like, maybe almost your 1 year, I don't remember
Yeah, it
fully.
was. It
But
was
what
almost
your
1 year.
friends did for your bachelorette and all your content, like, about how you survived, how you went through your bachelorette and sobriety was really cool. Um,
I had to let go of the fact that maybe it wasn't the most fun weekend of people's lives, but, like, people wanted to show up for me and support me, and I still look back on it and I'm like, "Oh, my bachelorette was, like, kinda lame, like, we didn't do that, like, we weren't crazy and fun," but I'm like, "But it was nice." Like, I think it was just a nice time to spend time with people.
Absolutely. And that's another thing, like, there's somebody at one of the meetings that I go to, and this is my thing, like, I used to think every social event, like, had to be the event, like, it's gotta
Wait,
be big,
same.
balls to the wall, and there's this person that I go to meetings with, and they say, "Not
Yes.
every meal is a banquet, and not every day is a holiday," and I kinda live by that shit. That shit's awesome, and it's so true, like,
It is so true. I feel like that's why I never wanted to go to bed because I was waiting for the amazing part of the night to happen every night that I went
I
out, and I was
never
like,
wanted the
"Wait,
party to
the
end.
really fucking sick part hasn't happened yet," and it's like, "Bitch, you're in an alley with some random kid you go to grad school with doing blow. Like,
I
call
know.
it a night.
Time to go
I
The
home.
never
magic
wanted the
ain't
party to
happening."
end. It's so true, and I think, like, socially, like, just putting myself, in kinda what you said, Brie. Well, I'm, like, actually I'm applying what you said in the video series that I did, but not putting myself in situations where I'm gonna be
Yeah,
uncomfortable. If I'm feeling
that's the story of my
uncomfortable,
life.
I'm allowed to
That's the
leave,
story
and
of
I
my
don't
life.
really have to
God.
give people an answer why. And sometimes I stand there and I have nothing to say, and I let other people do the talking, but I just try to move, like, authentically and genuinely and just be myself, and that's really hard sometimes because sometimes I wanna people please and tell people things, and have you ever seen, like, the meme where it's like, "When I realized I just told all of my secrets just to keep the conversation going?" None of that. None of that anymore. I'm just like, I'll have my small talk and I like can go in my notebook and be like, I made great small talk today. These YouTube tutorials really do work. It works if you work it.
So, Riley, we like to ask every guest if someone listening is on day 1 of sobriety or if they are sober curious, what is some quick advice you would give them?
I'm like a realist. And I had somebody tell me, like, when I was withdrawing in treatment, they were like, it's gonna really suck, but that's the only way you get better. And it's gonna be really hard. but it's gonna get better. Like getting sober, and I try to, I don't know, nothing bad has ever came from me getting sober, and, hang in there. But it's got to get really bad before it gets really, really good. And you're not going to want to miss it because it does get not only good, but amazing. And all the pain that you're going through
It can an
now
event.
will be worth it. And you'll be able to look back on it and be proud of yourself for like going through what you've been through. And also, day one is the worst. It's the hardest of them all. If you can get through day one, you can do day two, and you can do day three, and you can do day 365. So day one is the worst. It's a universal
Yeah.
experience. It's a canon event. See it through, and you'll see a life that you never thought of. I hope that was inspirational. Day one fucking sucks. I mean, it's just like a universal experience, and you just
No, that was. And I think we talk about that a lot. And I feel like it is kind of important because I feel like a lot of sobriety talks are like about what's hard about it and how to navigate the stuff that's hard. But like, it's that the adjustment is hard because you're so used to living one way. And that really helped me, like, knowing that there was only good on the other side. Like, you can get through a tough adjustment period to get to a life that's so much better than getting drunk all the time.
And I think I'll say one more thing. I think so many people are afraid of getting sober because they're afraid of what they've done while they were drinking. There are, this is not a complete blanket statement, but I think most people, when they're getting sober, because they have that fear, they're afraid to like face reality. Reality is okay, and you are worthy of forgiveness. I think that's like, I wish somebody would have told me that when I got sober. I thought I had done like a lot of unforgivable things. Um, and I think I wish somebody would have told me that. And somebody did eventually tell me that, and it felt great.
Yeah, and you start to
Yeah, I love
you
that.
start to forgive yourself after a while.
Mhm.
Once you start building up your repertoire and like your resume of good things that you've done in
Yeah.
sobriety, kind of cancels out the bad stuff. Not all of it.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong, there's still stuff that makes me
for
shudder.
sure. For
But
sure. And that's kind of the living amends to kind of the chaos you've created, is like kind of living with those shudders every now and then. But for the most part, like most things, like, I mean, even Amanda Batula is worthy of forgiveness, I think, in some capacity. The internet fucking hates her right now, but like, in the grand scheme of things, she's worthy of forgiveness at the end of it all. Like, she'll be okay. I think like she'll work through that. She'll make amends,
that's the
and it'll
only
be
way to
fine.
end the episode, really.
That was beautiful. That was perfect.
Well, thanks for coming on, Rye. This was
Thanks,
great.
guys. I hope I didn't
Yeah, oh
like
my gosh.
yap all around the place.
No, you were perfect as always. All
She
right,
does
have a great
deserve
night,
forgiveness.
everyone.
Bye, guys. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.